Greetings, fellow mortals. This is Treasure Code from the Parable Project, and this is the Stanley Parable 2, as the narrator liked to put it. And we just unlocked all of this stuff last episode, and you guys might notice I have a pop filter again. So the audio should be less horrendous than it was. And basically we're just gonna go and explore and see whatever the heck happens. I'm excited. I don't know what this is gonna be like. I'm going in completely blind. I have no idea what's gonna happen. I love the spooky shifting hallways. Ooh. Makes me wonder what sort of stuff is gonna be in this new bit. Oh.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Let's watch it just in case anything changes.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year.
No holidays?
And although others might have considered it soul-wrenching, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Oh, so the blue ones were the ones that we voted against in the other one. He just picked the opposite of whatever you did, which is like a funny thing. It's like giving somebody the opportunity to customize something in a video game, but making it the opposite of whatever they wanted. I wanted the ones that said, like, get well eventually, or get well someday. The other option was happy birthday step-niece, although I will admit the blue is a nice addition to the color palette.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
1 second. I am going to turn off... Can I finally jump out of one of these windows? Please. What if I just want to... Come on. The bucket!
Stanley picked up the bucket.
My reassurance bucket. My beloved bucket. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece. A lot of step-nieces around.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Let's listen to him and see what happens.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Oh, I heard the thing click and I got spooked. I forgot that it just clicks. Honestly, I'd love to go through this whole thing.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy, it's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong.
Getting squooshed.
This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together.
You didn't
Go through each of them point by point.
point.
Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
This is already delightful. Money in the morning, money evening, money for breakfast.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
So we do want to explore the little crevices. What? Oh, it's locked this time. That was not locked before. We were able to wander in there before.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes,
it's all the bucket.
This is certainly the most logical explanation.
It's all the bucket. Oh.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes,
I like it.
I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Beautiful. Delightful. So this is all stuff that we saw in the showcase. I wonder if we're going to get some more stuff that we didn't see. Like new endings and stuff like that. Only way to know is through exploration.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right.
We just put all
of our feelings in the bucket. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
We put our feelings inside the bucket, and the bucket holds on to them for us.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Imagine if, we walked through the darkness and when we came through, the bucket had vanished. And then, we have to deal with the crisis of that.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
I put my thoughts inside the bucket too. See, we do the crouch dance. Protects us from the evil. Protects us from the monsters. There we go. And your bucket hits the button.
The monitors jumped to life,
Oh,
and
I
Stanley
forgot that
nearly
it
dropped
shuddered
the
like
bucket in
that.
shock.
What? No!
Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Bucket, it's okay. We're gonna make it out of this, Bucket. Don't worry. Come on, Bucket. Let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's go home. Come on, Bucket.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's
No!
influence as
Don't
well?
touch my bucket!
Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do?
No.
What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Don't worry,
No!
Bucket. I've got
He
you.
screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one
I've got
friend
you.
in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
I love this entire story being rewritten to center around Stanley having the bucket.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
Or another
For
bucket.
he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the
Yeah,
bucket,
come
up
on,
against the
Missy.
world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
You are a riot, Bucket. This is worth it just for the new
Stanley
dialogue.
and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over?
Come on, Bucket. I still have my bucket, right?
Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had
Yay!
defeated their greatest and darkest enemy,
Increase the
freed
strength by crouch
themselves from the
dancing.
tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end.
This is a
True, it
fantastic
was
idea.
a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust,
no.
to support, and to... What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed?
No!
An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty.
Is he
Until
about to
finally
pull-
the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave.
No!
Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket.
The broom closet is taken over!
Stanley can't leave this place, not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms,
No!
not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room, but at least he has the bucket.
I have
To be
the
trapped
bucket.
eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley
have the
thought to
bucket.
himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Oh gosh. Oh.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
What?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
What happens if I now break the game? Wait. Figurine Finders Committee meeting today in the meeting room.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
We're both trapped in this eternal cycle together, buddy, but guess what? As long as we're together,
Stanley
we're gonna be
clutched
okay.
the bucket tightly to his chest, and this was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
So I gotta check every door. You never know.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes,
Absolutely.
Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was.
100%.
How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
It's just full of not use. Everyone calls it an airhead, but it's actually full of knowledge.
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Bucket was never
Stanley
wrong.
took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
I shall never deny the bucket.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Whatever you
Good,
say, bucket.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Imagine if this time the bucket was actually too dangerous. It has this reassuring aura that it uses to make
In
everybody
here,
believe it.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
It could be that the bucket is actually evil, and it has this calming presence that keeps you from realizing that it's leading you down a dark turn. And so the building here is actually to keep the bucket here. And all of the people here had to go because every one of them tried to get away with the bucket. They had to use mind control to keep us from running away with the bucket, to keep it all for ourselves. What's it gonna be this time?
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it...
Aye. I shall do whatever you
This
say,
is the
bucket.
sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Ah. Can I jump out of the window now? Am I just trapped forever? Oh, Stanley, it's me, your bucket. Just you to take me. Oh, it's the wife ending, but different. It's now.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Okay, I'm not hearing things, narrator. You need to be specific. I'm seeing things.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
I'm familiar enough with people in this sort of state, having been in an unhealthy psychological state before, that somehow relates this, and I don't want to get into it. But, yeah, it's gonna depend on way too many things to count, so I can't tell you for sure whether or not talking to him is gonna...
Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me?
Yep.
Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It
Good on
can't
you, you're
think.
talking to him.
It can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location.
Or
That's
s-
it.
or a large
It doesn't
collection
do
of small
anything
solids.
else.
What if I put a bunch of marbles in it? It could help me carry a bunch of marbles. What if I try to go somewhere else? What if I try to listen? I want closure for Stan. Fine.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all
Really?
he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal.
Oh. Press F to pay respects for Stanley's social life, more like.
It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore.
No, he needs you.
From now
he needs
on,
you to
he's
step
just
in.
going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Shiny bucket. I mean, I believe that within Stanley's world you exist, but perhaps not that you speak.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Yeah. It's a very nice bucket. That's O, I think. Is there? No, it's not. What happens if I press a different button?
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
Because you wrote it to be this way. Go to home. What if I press every other button? What if I protest by pressing every other button? We're gonna purposefully skip over the beat. Okay, I tried. Oh, I didn't need space.
I'm having feelings for the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say.
No.
Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes, the bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation.
The bucket is deceiving both of us. It is a trickster. Why are you in my room? Why are there romantic candles everywhere? But let's just get out of the
Stanley,
situation.
give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it, or I'll...
Close your eyes. Go back to work, Stanley.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Oh,
what could
that's
it mean?
good.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
One of these days, I'm gonna find a window that I can jump out of. What happens if I go and get the
The
adventure line
confusion
ending
and the
with
chaos
bucket?
all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
We're just going to go
And
through...
here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
The bucket is actually malicious, that's why the building will not let it leave.
Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
What is this? What is this? No.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much.
Why is the baby
It's this
from your
bucket you're carrying around everywhere.
My safety
The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before.
The
Yes,
bucket
I know
is
I'm the one who
carries
gave
some
you the
cool-
bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We
Yes,
could make
but
the
not yet.
Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Oh dear.
Whee! Look at that
Who's
wacky line.
driving?
Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh,
Right.
and it played some silly music as well.
You did that. Oh no. Okay, it's not as loud as last time. We're okay. How fast can I get
Now
off track?
this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue? Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers. Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Not the bucket. We've already established that the bucket has possessed my soul. But honestly, I kind of want to get rid of that. But Stanley might not want to.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
We're gonna kill the demon.
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
Bucket does as well. The bucket's gotta go.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley.
What if I run?
Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now. The fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Ooh, that's not good. I tried, narrator. Okay? I tried. There was no mechanic allowing me to relinquish the bucket.
The Bucket Destroyer. My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now.
Because the narrator
Goodbye,
didn't implement a throwing mechanic.
For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
I was able to put the bucket up to my face, but I couldn't throw it in. Was there something I was missing there? Or? The end is never the end, is never the end. Well, I already think that that's a video right there. It's not as long as my typical... It's probably not as long as my typical content, but that's 3 excellent playthroughs. We've been working our way through everything that happens with the bucket. And I'm sure we're going to discover some excellent more things. If you have any ideas for routes, just go ahead and stick a couple of simple and preferably vague so that I don't get spoilers instructions down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. As always, we're going to have our little baby sermon afterwards, our 7-minute sermon, God's Word in 7 minutes or less. I fully invite you to stay for that. However, I in no capacity attempt to force you to. So, but I've had a great time. I hope you did as well. The Stanley Parable 2. And always remember, you are treasured. My name has been Treasure Code, and this has been the Parable Project. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye! Hello, hello, hello. So glad you stuck around for our 7-minute sermon, God's Word in 7 minutes or less. And today we dealt with some disturbing things with that reassurance bucket. I had so much trust in that bucket, and then it went down some dark rabbit holes. And it brought to mind it brought to mind a sermon I'm fairly passionate about. Something that's always going to be difficult when someone's trying to follow God is how to actually work on the sins that are still in our lives. Because this should come as no surprise, becoming Christian does not automatically make you perfect. as many people have proven through their own actions to us. And honestly, even if you're not Christian, you just know that it's wrong, but you don't know how to let go of that behavior. Or you don't particularly want to. Or maybe, like you're Christian, you think that you can hold on to that sin, it's going to be fine. This is the message for you then, if you fit into any of those categories. Or sin will make things seem much better now, only to drive us down these unhealthy rabbit holes later. It's addictive, it's all too appealing, even to those who are trying to wipe it out of their lives. You can keep on standing against this sin, but that doesn't mean it's not going to seem really appealing when it suddenly becomes very convenient for you. You could stand for honesty and still have a hard time not lying when the truth is hard to admit. And even as we try to get rid of it, it draws us in, nags at us. We have to properly resist it, and because humans are weak and are doomed to fall prey to sinful temptations, we must turn to the only truly good being on this earth, and that is the one who created this earth, God. There's no saying that anyone here is perfect. Romans 3:23 says, "For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God." But he's more than willing to help. I love a little biblical reference here. 1 Corinthians 10:13. Turning to it in my Bible app. These are very useful. Makes it faster to turn to stuff. "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." And I've seen this happen so many times. I've already seen it happening today, and sometimes I didn't even take that way out. But it does not mean that God had been unfaithful in providing a way out. I had been unfaithful and just not saved me from it, or just not made me perfect, because we're human. He lets us still make these choices, even if they're bad ones, because we have free will, and he doesn't take that from us. But that doesn't mean he doesn't want us to avoid sin, which is why he gives us ways out. And I've come up with a couple of good strategies, so that maybe this could be the avenue through which God provides you a way out. Some ways to resist the devil so that he will flee from us, because the Bible also says if you resist the devil, he will flee from you. When you know you're going to be facing temptation, put someone or something in the vicinity to keep you accountable. Someone who wouldn't approve of the sinful behavior. Parents, friends with high moral standards, any of those kinds of people. Sometimes just opening your bedroom door to increase your chances of getting caught is enough to scare off the temptation of doing something you shouldn't be doing in secret. Item 2. Remember that Jesus said, "If you love me, you will keep my commands." John 14:15. Keeping that verse in mind implicates a whole new level of accountability for your decisions, although it's like a strong seasoning. Obsessing over this verse and forgetting the mercy message can lead to an unhealthy perfectionistic mindset, but that doesn't decrease the truth of the statement. If we love God, we will keep his commands, and if we have faith in him, we will trust that his commands are good. Which is another reason why we say that strong faith would result in good works, because somebody with a strong faith in God will trust that what he's saying is good. Item 3. Come up with all the reasons you shouldn't do that sin and write them on the back of your hand or somewhere you'll see them regularly, even if it's tucked away. Sometimes you just gotta drill it into your head. You know you shouldn't do it, and you just gotta... But you don't really recognize that when the temptation is immediately present, so drill it into your head. Do what you gotta do. Item 4. Every time the temptation appears, talk to it like it's a separate, really annoying person. I do this all the time. It's very fun to personify it, because God, when you accept Christ, God removes your sins from you as far as the east is from the west. That's not part of you anymore. It's not actually a person, and it's trying to lead you astray, so you can sass it to your heart's content. Sometimes it's nice to just take your spite out on your sinful desires. It's so nice. And another thing, my final point, do not fall into a pride point that I often find myself falling victim to and thus have some experience knowing that it happens. My pride point is thinking I'll be able to dip my toe into the water of temptations and then just be satisfied and leave. It never works. It's gonna overwhelm you sooner or later. Because we're fallible, and every time we think, what if I just go a little further? Wouldn't that be okay? It will not be okay. From one imperfect human being to another, it's not just going to work out where you're able to dip your toe into the temptation and then just leave. And that's all the tips I have for you today. That completes our 7-minute sermon. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe, like, do all the nice things, comment below, get involved. And always remember, you are treasured, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!